In the center locations, and by that we mean the areas of a population that are urbanized, they're gathered, they're from which all others are dependent, and we will define dependency in a second. It is those areas that certain characteristics benefit as a labor in that area, and others become a detriment. The two primary characteristics that flourish in such a location is conception, the idea itself, the originality of the proposition, especially if we're creating something from that idea, production, and such forth. And secondly, it is not only conception, but in what way things transfer between people, specific people and corporations to people, but the transfer, the real-time transfer. Now, it might seem that a conceptual idea, the originality of an idea, is what becomes exchanged, but that is not the true marker of what is exchangeable. As we know, branding and marketing create the framework to enable the succession between two people without the regular work that allows for that succession to happen. It's the smoothing out of that exchange. When something is not marketable, it is not lacking an ideation, it is not lacking a substance or performance for that matter. It is just lacking the ability to attain that in an easy manner, in a way that makes it without requirement of each individual to invest an originality towards the succession of that idea. Now, it is not only marketable. Marketable is a primary example, but it is those things that proceed in ease. For example, the exchange of money, banks, or the stronger market exchanges between corporations, such as finance. It's those things that are easy to not only be exchanged without preliminary data. Doesn't take much to understand the exchange of money or the exchange of bond, the exchange of the idea of money, or the exchange of a partnership in what constitutes money. As well, it is other aspects that allow for succession. Now, an example of how they correlate a conceptual idea and what is exchangeable, what is primary and what is the outcome. That's a good way to look at it, because the conceptual idea is the beginning stage of any procession of transfer, and the ease of which that transfer takes place is the final act or the final exemplification before the transfer is enabled. The last point in one's aggregation of purchase is the exchange itself, but specifically in how it has been of ease, or the way it swiftly moves between that exchange. any aspect that is difficult or an impediment to the exchange would cause, or not cause, it would be a detestable idea or detestable aspect that disrupts the exchange, and by definition disrupts the entire encapsulation of the details of that transfer. If one is in a negotiation and there is hesitation in the transfer, all that has been implied in the negotiation becomes wavered in that moment. In one sense, it becomes cheapened. In another sense, it is a whole new composition when finally the transfer takes place because of its deviating factors that cause the lack of exchange. So the ease of exchange is in some way the final act that precedes the exchange to remain congruent with the person who is about to receive that exchange. Now, the reason the conceptual idea is paramount in these center urbanized localities is because it begins based on the complex society that endeavored the origin of that conceptual idea. One could come up with an idea in any location that's not the primary complexity. It is only from the individual becoming habituated in the sequence of what is the uppermost crust of society, of which all is dependent, that now the conceptual idea is a derivative, it is a production on that idea. It upsets the originality of all conceptual creations is the society which the individual has been embedded within that finally exemplified the idea. We could identify the strands in each idea that reach back into the society from which that person has derived themselves from. So the origin is the society, and its production is the conceptual idea, and all conceptual ideas that are outside of that process are not considered conceptual ideas in which it traverses along. It is halted by the fact that other conceptual ideas has this lineage which will overcome these smaller conceptual ideas. Not that they're not with their purpose, just that they won't be considered primary conceptual ideas. If we look at any successful corporate endeavor, we will find that it's based on a conceptual idea, that is based on a individual or group that has been habituated at one point or another to succeed from those to those ideas. So these are I would say the two pillars of what is best served in these localities. The primary, meaning the conceptual idea and its originality, based on the indebtedness of society at its upper crest level, at its uppermost level. And the second is the ease of exchange, whether or not it's based on that original idea. It's not based on the conceptual footprint. It's possible that a conceptual idea that's built outside has the ease of transfer from within. For example, technology, which is mostly developed based on the individuals who have been habituated outside of these localities, but because of the ease of which it transfers, whether to the individual or through individuals, that aspect has overcome the lack of its primary conceptual idea. So it's those two things. Now they're usually contradictory. So what is without primary conceptual idea requires the necessity of that ease of access in these localities, because it doesn't naturally succeed from one to the other. And the opposite may be true, which what is ease of access is not what is naturally ease of access, for example, nourishment, food, and other things. They are also well, I don't know if we could say that because it's possible that they don't correlate, but at least the other way in which the conceptual idea that's lacking, it's not primary, requires the ease of access, which these localities are successful to become the habitat for that development.